Today we will discuss Indian history, chapter number 1. It's an introduction. In that, we will be discussing 1 mark questions as well as 2 marks questions. Also, I will show forth the 5 marks question. In the first chapter, we have only 1 marks, 2 marks, and the 5 marks question. There is no 10 marks questions. So, today, all of you, I am telling you to keep your notes and verify your answers. If you have any wrong answers for the wrong interpretation of your thinking, please correct it. So this is the right time to correct your answers, and please write down the notes. This is a question and answer session for you history class, for your history class, the first chapter. So, from which language is the word India derived? The answer is Greek language. The word India is derived from Greek language, Indos. So since they have asked only the language, we need to mention the language called Greek. They have not asked the Greek word for India. The Greek word for India is Indos. Name the work that mentions the extent of ancient Karnataka. Mention the work that speaks about the extent of Karnataka. So, mention the book name and who wrote the book. So, the book is Kaviraja Marga, which mentions the extent of Karnataka, which speaks about the extent means from how far the land of Karnataka has been distributed or extended. How much is the size of Karnataka, how it is demarcated, which has been explained first time by a book called Kaviraja Marga. How to remember? You remember the K for Karnataka, K for Kaviraja Marga. So it has been written by Sri Vijaya. Sri Vijaya is a poet who has written this book, Kaviraja Marga, which speaks from South Kaveri to the North Godavari. From South Kaveri to the North Godavari is the land called Karnataka. This is called the extent of Karnataka. In this book, we can see Kaviraja Marga. What is numismatics? Numismatics is a scientific study of ancient coins. Scientific study of science alla, it is coins, is called as numismatics. Scientific study of coins. So the book mentions that it is a scientific study of coins. I have given you here. There is a small mistake called scientific study of science alla, it is coins. What is excavation? It is scientific digging of earth for unearthing sources. Scientific digging of earth for unearthing sources. Okay. So, whose conquest does the Aihole inscription describe? It is Pulikeshi II. There is Aihole inscription. Aihole is a place in Karnataka. So, this inscription is found in Aihole. Therefore, it is called as Aihole. It is been who wrought or who made this inscription. It is made by Ravi Kirti, the court poet of Pulikeshi, which speaks about the battle of Narmada. The battle of Narmada took place between the two great monarchs, that is Pulikeshi II and Harshavardhana, on the bank of river Narmada. Therefore, it is called as Battle of Narmada. This Battle of Narmada took place between Pulikeshi and Harshavardhana in 634 CE. This inscription, rock inscription, which speaks about this conquest and who won the war and who was defeated, all that has been written. It speaks about the victory of Pulikeshi. Aihole inscription is found in Aihole in Karnataka, which was written by Ravi Kirti, which speaks about the war between Harshavardhana and Pulikeshi in 632 CE, in which Pulikeshi second won against Harshavardhana. Next autobiography we have, who wrote Buddha Charita? Who wrote Buddha Charita? So Ashwagosha wrote. So A for Ashwagosha, B for Buddha Charita. We can remember like that, A, B. If B is asked, you search for Ashwagosha. So Ashwagosha's book is Buddha Charita. So it is one of the biography in India, which is a famous work of Pliny. So Pliny is a traveler who writes about India from Roman Empire. His book is Natural History. So Histria, Natural Histria is a book written by Pliny. So 7 1 marks questions are there. Afterwards we have 2 marks questions. Name any 2 passes that connects India with the West. When we were discussing about geographical impact, we saw there are 2 passes, that is Khyber and Bolan. There is Gomal, Tochi, Kuram. There are many passes, but famous ones are Khyber and Bolan passes. Any 2 if you mention, you will get 2 marks. Name any 2 passes that connects India with the West. What is the extent of India according to Vishnu Purana? In the first video we have discussed in the introduction. So, in the Vishnu Purana, for the first time, the extent of India has been mentioned. So, which is the first resource that we get which speaks about the extent of India, that is Vishnu Purana. In the Vishnu Purana, the shloka goes like this, and it is a translation part of it which is given for 2 marks, but if you write the shloka, that would be better. Uttaram yat samudrasya himadreshiva dakshinam varsham tad bharatam nama bharatiyatra santati. Uttaram yat samudrasya himadreshiva dakshinam varsham tad bharatam nama bharatiyatra santati. This is the Vishnu Purana quotes about the extent of India. So what does it mean? The country that lies north of the oceans and the south of the snowy mountains is called Bharata. There dwells the descendants means children and the generations of Bharata or Bharata. So the country that lies north means, so if you see the north of the ocean, from the ocean you have to go to the north. But till where? If you go to snowy mountains, from there you go to the south, till oceans. From south, ocean, you move to the north, to the snowy mountains. From the snowy mountains, move to the south. You will get in between, that land is called Bharata. And this land has been given to the descendants of Bharata. Who is Bharata? Bharata is a king who found in Mahabharata the son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. So, Bharata is a king found in Mahabharata and he is the son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. This may be sufficient for you, but answer if you refer from the textbook and write, that may be sufficient. But those of you find difficulty, this answer is very, very easy. Next one, we have third question. Mention any 2 names of India. So, the India has plenty of names. In that, 2 names if you write, that may be sufficient. One is Bharata, Bharatakanda, Bharatavarsha, Hindustan, Jambudvipa. These are the different names given to India. So you can write even India, because any 2 names of India, already they have given 1. So, etc. There are many more names, but 2 if you write, that may be sufficient. Name any 2 physical features of India. Name any 2 physical features of India. So already we have discussed there are 6 physical features of India. So some mention it as 7, but first one Himalayas. The second one is northern plain. The third one is the deserts, Thar desert. The fourth one is the mountains, the Vindhya mountains and the Aravalis, Sayadris, all that we have, the mountains. Please mention the Vindhyas, the Aravalis and the Sayadris, many more, but textbook mentions. The fifth one is Deccan Plateau. And the seventh one we have coastal line. I can give you one more, that is the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. If you look at the textbook map, you can find them in a very big letter. In the South Deccan Plateau, you can find Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. In between the coastal line and the Deccan Plateau, you can find them. So next one is fifth one. Name any 2 mountains of India. So actually the question would have been better, mountain ranges. It's mountain ranges, that is Aravali mountains, Vindhya mountains, Sayadris, even Himalayan mountain ranges we can mention. They are also mountains, great mountains. The next question is sixth one. Mention any 2 documents. Okay, or two dominant means great religions of Indian origin. So the religions that are found in India, means founded, the original birthplace, that is India. So the religions that have taken birth from this motherland called India, first one is Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. It is also called as Vedic religion or Brahminical religion. Hinduism has different names. The spelling has gone wrong. If please find it and put it. Hinduism. It is Hinduism. Jainism, founder is, there are 24 Tirthankaras. The first Tirthankara is considered to be the founder, that is Rishabhanath. And the famous one is 24th Tirthankara, that is Mahavira. Buddhism, the founder is Gautama Buddha. And Sikhism is Guru Nanak, the founder. Name any 2 world heritage sites in India. There are many heritage sites in India. Mention at least 2. So there are many. One is Hampi, Aihole, Pattadakallu, Gaya, Sanchi, Taj Mahal, Jantar Mantar, even the Nilgiri mountains in South India. So there are many more sites to mention, but few of them I would like to give you for your reference is the Rajasthan Fort Hills, Khajuraho, Konark Temple, Taj Mahal, Gaya where Buddha's temple is there, Sanchi, Ajanta, Ellora, Madurai Temple, Kanchi, Mahabalipuram, the churches of Goa, all that are part of the World Heritage Sites recognized by UNO. If you refer page number 5 of your textbook, you will get more of them, but any 2, because the question refers to only 2. Name any 2 universities of ancient India. Don't write the present universities, famous universities of India. It is the famous universities of ancient India, that is Nalanda, Taksasila, Kashi, Kanchi, Vikramashila, Ujjain. There are many more. So some of them to mention: Nalanda, Taksasila, Kanchi, Kashi, Vikramashila, Ujjain are the best examples of ancient universities of India. Name any 2 dynasties of ancient India. So begins with Mauryans, Guptas, Kushanas, Vardhanas. That may be sufficient. There are plenty more to mention, but 4 are sufficient to keep in mind for your exams. Mauryas, the Guptas, the Kushanas, the Vardhanas. So from there, the 10th question, mention any two dynasties of medieval India, that is Delhi Sultanate, Mughals, Marathas, and the Vijayanagara Empire, the Bahmani Sultans, and the Rajputs. So you can see the Bahmani Sultans and Rajputs. There are many Rajput families, Susodias of Mewar. So like that, there are many Rajput families. So Delhi Sultanate, Mughals, Marathas, Vijayanagara Empire, Bahmani Sultans, and Rajputs. What is the extent of Karnataka according to Kaviraja Marga? Already I have mentioned. So the 11th question, that is according to Kaviraja Marga, the extent, spelling is wrong, the extent of Karnataka, K is supposed to be capital, was from the river Godavari in the north to river Kaveri in the south. But the book says first Kaveri in the south to Godavari in the north. Please, if you write that way also, marks are given. Name any two important dynasties that ruled Karnataka. So there are plenty of dynasties, but few to mention in the textbook they have given. Begins with the Kadambas, the Gangas, the Chalukyas. They are called as Chalukyas of Badami or early Chalukyas. Afterwards, Rashtrakutas. After Rashtrakutas, we have Hoysalas and later Chalukyas. Later Chalukyas are called as Chalukyas of Kalyana, Rashtrakutas, Vijayanagara Empire. All that are the best examples of the dynasties that ruled Karnataka. Write any two physical features of Karnataka. So we have elaborately discussed the coastal line. First we will go with the Arabian Sea and the coastal line. The Arabian Sea and the coastal line. The Western Ghats of Sayadri Mountains. The Malanadu region comprises of 6 to 7 districts. Northern and southern plains of Karnataka. If you write any of two, that may be sufficient, but try to write all of them because it's the features of Karnataka. Since we are studying history of Karnataka very much in detail. There is a question, no source, no history. Why? History is study of past events and past records and achievements of man. Once again, I am telling you, history is the record of past events and achievements of man through the ages. The historical events cannot be reproduced or replayed. We cannot reproduce or replay once again. It can't be brought forth once again and see and write down. So we can reconstruct. Who can reconstruct? The historians can reconstruct the past based on the available sources. So history can be written with the help of sources. Therefore, no source, no history. Hence, what is the difference between prehistoric age and historic age? The period where the written records are not available is known as prehistoric age, when there is no written records. And how do you write history? It is with the help of archaeological sources we write history. So, in this period, we write history with the help of archaeological sources only. There is no written records. So, that is called as prehistoric period. The period about which we have written records is known as historic period. The period in which we have historic records along with the archaeological resources, we have written records. Both these resources, when we can write the history with very much having proofs. So that is called as historic age. The age when we have both the archaeological as well as literary sources. When we have only archaeological sources, it is called as prehistoric age. You can mention from that point of view also, but the book mentions this is the answer. Mention any two uses of coins in the construction of history. Construction of history. The coins are the chief sources of reconstruction of history. So the study of coins is called as, scientific study of coins is known as numismatics. Already we have studied in the 1 mark question. The coins help us to understand the time. The time means the period or the age or the era. So we can know the time of the coin, the dynasty at the time, the economic conditions, the religious conditions, the extent of the empire, the religion of that empire, the script, the language, the extent of empire, the metallurgy, the artistic ability, the titles of the kings, the trade relation, and finally the extent of the empire. All that we can come to know with the help of the study of coins, that is called as numismatics. Therefore, coins gives us valuable uses for reconstructing the past or construction of history. Why are the inscriptions are the most reliable sources in the construction of history? Inscriptions are authentic, direct, generally contemporary, and related to the events, whatever the event that has been taking place. Along with that event, it has been published by the same person or the person of that time or person of that authority to that place and to that event. Therefore, it is direct, it is authentic, it is generally to the contemporary time. So, or it is contemporary to the event. For example, the construction of a temple. So, an inscription which is in front of the temple speaks about who constructed, when he constructed, for what he constructed. All that details are in the inscription. So, inscriptions are issued by the king who built the temple. So, that is the remarkable, authentic information to reconstruct history. So, the inscriptions are more reliable than any other things. What are archaeological sources? The archaeological sources are the remains of the past human life and activities. Archaeological sources are the remains of the past human life and activities. It includes the coins, seals, jewelries, human relics and artifacts from the early Stone Age to the man-made objects that are found in excavations. So, archaeological sources are the jewelries, the tools, the coins, the seals, the terracotta figures, fossils, weapons, paintings, inscriptions, remainings of the buildings, pottery, household articles, all that are the sources of archaeology which help us to reconstruct the past. Even that also mentioned. Mention two kinds of literary sources. So one is indigenous literary sources, which has been developed by Indians. It consists of both. One is religious, the other one is secular literature. The second one is foreign accounts. Foreign accounts from western side, that is Greek Empire's writers. Second, we have Romans, they have written. And afterwards, we have written records from the China, the Chinese travelers. Afterwards, from Persia. And afterwards, the Islamic travelers. Later, we have the European travelers who have left out their beautiful accounts. This speaks about foreign accounts. So, indigenous literature and foreign accounts. Name the two epics of India. You know it, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana and Mahabharata are the two great epics of India. Mention the work of Aryabhatta, Surya Siddhanta, it is Surya Siddhanta and Romaka Siddhanta. Even there is a book called Aryabhatiyam. This is a scientific work of Aryabhatta. Name any two Chinese pilgrims who visited India. So we have three. One, Fahian visited during the time of Guptas. Huyen Tsang visited India during the time of Harshavardhana and Pulikeshi II. And Itzing, he visited India in the later parts of 7th century. Name any two foreigners who visited Vijayanagara Empire. So that is Abdul Razak, Niccolo Conti, Barbosa, Domingo Pace, Nikitin are the best examples who all of them visited the Vijayanagara Empire. So Abdul Razak, Niccolo Conti, Barbosa, Domingo Pace, Nikitin are the examples. So these are the 23 questions for you, 2 marks questions from the first chapter. So next one, we have explained briefly the impact of geography on Indian history. I have given you the notes, you can see here, and describe the special features of India, that is continuity of culture, evolution in phase, foreign invasion, dominant and tolerate Hindu faith, contribution to the world, India as a country of attraction for the foreigners, unity and diversity. So next question, unity in diversity is the unique feature of India. That is also the physical diversities, we have different physical features, the coldest Siachen and the hottest Rajasthan, and evergreen forests, and we have different animals, flora and fauna, different plants, different segments, and different rainy areas, the highest rainfall in Mosinram and the lowest rainfall of the place is Rauli in Rajasthan. We have different, the land which has been completely covered with the sea, that is South India, and there is no connection to the sea at all in Jammu and Kashmir and other Uttar Pradesh states. So therefore, it's a diversities, but still we are united with. We have racial differentiation. So Indians have the different races called Dravidians, Negroids, Mongolians, Alfians. Many people live, but still we are under one umbrella called India. India has nearly various languages, and there are nearly 1,600 languages and dialects, more than that. It is said that 2,500 languages and dialects found in India. India is one of the biggest country to have different types of languages and dialects in the world. Social and religious diversities. India has belong to different caste people, different religion people, different culture people, and their faiths are different, their customs are different, their social systems is different. People are different. So the people have a great differences, but still they are great in having a unity, harmony, they live together. Economical diversity. We have unequal distribution of income in India because all the natural resources are not equally owned by all the individuals. So there is a wide difference between the rich and the poor and the middle class, higher middle class, upper middle class, and still we are all one. When it comes India, we are all united. So geographical unity, north, Himalayas, south, it's oceans. It is an island separated from the rest of the world. Administrative unit, because India has been ruled by many dynasties, the entire this unit called India. Informative in education and literature, it was uniformity in education. India had the same type of education, ancient Indian education, and it was based on Sanskrit language and on study of Vedic literature and developed the feeling of oneness. Now India occupies the place of Sanskrit. Religion and special ceremonies. Though India had a different religion, caste, creeds, caste spelling is wrong, it is one T, and sects, but still practices are the same, the ceremonies are the same. So marriage, interdining, all that happens. So that sows the seeds of we are feeling one, or inculcates the feeling of being oneness. Recent changes that has happened after independence, the policies of the government. So the policies of the government is made not only for one state or two states, it's for the entire nation. The constitution which speaks about Bharata or India, the present economic condition and social conditions effects and the globalization are reducing the differences between Indians and injecting the feeling of we are all one, that is Indians. So that is though we have differences, we are still being one. The contributions of foreign writers already I have discussed, so that may be sufficient for you when I have given you, that is very distinctly I have given you in the video. You can write it, but if you want it, you can write this one also. So next we have archaeological sources. I have given you that also. If you want this, you can go through this and write. So for today's video, this much is sufficient. Have a nice day. Take care of you.